Have you ever come across someone who never posts their pictures on social media? No selfies, no vacation shots, no celebrations, no new haircut updates, just silence. In a digital world where almost everyone shares pieces of their life online, these quiet profiles stand out. At first glance, we might think maybe they're shy, or maybe they just don't care about social media. But psychology suggests there's more going on beneath the surface. The choice not to post photos isn't random. It can reveal interesting layers of personality, self-perception, and emotional intelligence. Today, we'll explore the real psychology behind people who don't post their pictures online and why that behavior often reflects strength, not insecurity. 1. Privacy over popularity. Let's start with one of the clearest explanations: privacy. Psychologists have found that some people have what's called a high privacy orientation. That means they're deeply aware of the boundaries between their public and private selves. While most people today live in what sociologists call a performance culture, where posting equals existing, these individuals quietly resist that idea. They value control over what others see, think, and know about them. This doesn't make them antisocial or secretive. In fact, many of them are deeply social in real life. They simply believe that not every moment deserves an audience. It's a subtle act of independence. In a time when attention is currency, choosing privacy is a way of saying, my life is mine. They don't need validation through likes, comments, or shares. Their sense of worth comes from self-validation, that quiet inner assurance that says, I'm enough even if no one else is watching. And that's not just confidence, it's emotional maturity. 2. A strong sense of self. Another powerful reason why some people avoid posting photos is because they already know who they are. Psychologists call this self-concept clarity, the degree to which your self-image is stable and consistent. When you have a clear sense of self, you're less tempted to measure your worth through others' reactions. You don't need to post a selfie to prove you're happy or successful. People with strong self-concept clarity understand their values, their goals, and what truly brings them joy. They know that real experiences matter more than digital approval. Think about it. Many of us check how many likes we got on a photo and subconsciously tie that number to our self-esteem. But someone with inner clarity doesn't fall into that trap. They might still enjoy social media, they might browse, comment, or even share useful content, but they don't seek identity through it. Their sense of who I am comes from within, not from feedback loops. 3. Emotional security and quiet confidence. People who rarely post pictures tend to show a kind of quiet confidence. They don't feel the need to pursue happiness or success. They don't chase attention because they already feel complete. Psychologists describe this as secure self-esteem. Unlike fragile self-esteem, which depends on external approval, secure self-esteem is stable, grounded, and self-sustaining. Someone with this kind of emotional foundation doesn't feel threatened if others don't notice them online. They don't post just to stay visible. They live their lives fully, whether the world sees it or not. And interestingly, research shows that people with secure self-esteem often have better emotional regulation. They experience less anxiety, less envy, and less comparison because their focus is on real-world goals, not digital impressions. In other words, their happiness doesn't depend on the algorithm. 4. Deep thinkers, not online performers. Have you noticed how quiet people often think deeply? That applies online too. Those who rarely post pictures tend to be more introspective. They think before they share. They pause before they post. And often, they only upload something when it truly matters. This reflects a psychological trait known as an internal locus of evaluation. That means they judge themselves by their own standards, not by others' opinions. In contrast, people with an external locus tend to rely on outside validation. How many likes, who commented, how they're perceived. For deep thinkers, that external noise isn't appealing. They prefer authenticity over appearance. They might see social media as a space filled with noise and superficial performance, a place where people show their best angles, not their truest selves. So, Rather than contribute to noise, they choose to step back and observe. Their quietness isn't a lack of confidence, it's discernment. They value depth over display. 5. Understanding the digital illusion. Here's another reason: awareness. Many people who don't post photos understand something important: that social media is often an illusion. Psychologists refer to this as social comparison theory, where people constantly evaluate their worth based on others' highlight reels. We scroll through vacation photos, new car posts, relationship milestones, and subconsciously start comparing our lives. But what we're really seeing is a curated version, filtered, edited, and optimized for likes. People who avoid posting often do so because they're aware of this psychological trap. They know how easy it is to start measuring happiness through digital applause. By staying low-key, they protect their mental health. They don't get caught in the endless comparison cycle. Instead, they choose peace over performance. They might still enjoy scrolling. Maybe they watch cooking videos or travel vlogs or educational content, but they stay emotionally detached. They don't need to keep up with anyone. 6. Emotional intelligence and boundaries. Not posting photos can also be a sign of emotional intelligence. Emotionally intelligent people understand that attention is addictive. Every like, every comment, every view releases a small hit of dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Over time, that small reward can become a need. You start to crave it. You start to post more, not for expression, but for validation. Those who stay private often sense this dynamic, consciously or unconsciously, and choose to step away. They protect their energy by setting boundaries between their real life and their online life. This boundary helps maintain mental balance. Their happiness doesn't fluctuate with engagement stats. They know who they are offline, and that's enough. 7. A preference for real connection. Another fascinating trait: many people who avoid posting pictures actually prefer real human connection. They find more joy in face-to-face conversations than in online likes. Psychologists link this to a concept called authentic relating, the desire for deep, meaningful interaction rather than surface-level exchange. When they hang out with friends, they're present, not checking the perfect angle for a group photo. When they travel, they're immersed in the moment, not focused on how it will look online. For them, memories matter more than the photo of a memory. And, ironically, this makes their relationship stronger. Because every interaction isn't filtered for aesthetics. It's genuine, emotional, and alive. 8. The role of personality types. Of course, not everyone who avoids posting does, so for the same reason. Personality plays a big role here too. Introverts, for example, often prefer quiet observation to public sharing. They recharge through solitude and reflection. Posting online can feel draining or unnatural. On the other hand, some ambiverts, those who are balanced between introversion and extroversion, may enjoy social media but still limit their presence to maintain balance. Even extroverts who love social interaction might choose not to post because they separate social energy from digital energy. There's no one-size-fits-all psychology here. The key is intention. The less someone posts, the more intentional their relationship with social media tends to be. 9. Minimalism and digital detox. There's also a growing cultural trend toward digital minimalism, a lifestyle that values meaningful use of technology over constant connection. People who embrace digital minimalism often post less, follow fewer accounts, and spend more time offline. They recognize that endless scrolling doesn't equal happiness. And by reducing their social media footprint, they gain time, focus, and peace of mind. It's not about rejecting technology, it's about using it consciously. For them, the absence of photos isn't emptiness, it's intentional space. 10. The paradox of visibility. Here's an interesting paradox. Sometimes, people who don't post much actually get noticed more. In a world where oversharing is normal, mystery stands out. Think about it. When you see someone who rarely posts, you become curious. You start wondering what their life is like, what they're doing, why they're quiet. Psychologists call this the scarcity effect. When something is less available, we perceive it as more valuable. By being selective, these individuals naturally create a sense of intrigue. They don't try to be mysterious, but their restraint communicates confidence. They send a subtle message. I don't need to show everything to prove anything. 11. Control, not fear. Now, it's important to note, not posting isn't always about fear or avoidance. Some people worry that avoiding social media means being afraid of judgment or criticism. But in many cases, it's actually the opposite. People who control their digital image are often more strategic than anxious. They understand how information travels online, how data is stored, how photos can resurface, how online perception can affect real-world reputation. So they curate consciously. They don't post impulsively because they understand long-term consequences. That's not fear. That's wisdom. 12. Inner fulfillment versus outer validation. At the core, this all ties back to one theme where fulfillment comes from. For some, happiness is public. It's about sharing, connecting, being seen. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for others, fulfillment is internal. They find peace in living their life without turning it into content. Psychologists say this reflects intrinsic motivation, doing something for the personal meaning it brings, not for external rewards. When your motivation is intrinsic, you live with purpose, not performance. You capture moments with your mind, not your phone. 13. What this says about confidence. There's a misconception that people who don't post are shy or insecure. In many cases, it's quite the opposite. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. Those who feel secure in their identity don't need an audience to confirm it. They're not avoiding attention out of fear. They're simply content without it. Psychologist Abraham Maslow once said, "Self-actualized people are detached from the good or bad opinion of others." That perfectly sums it up. They've outgrown the need to be seen to feel significant. 14. The bigger picture, balance. Of course, there's no single right or wrong way to use social media. Some people love sharing their lives. It's how they connect, inspire, and express themselves. Others prefer privacy. It's how they protect peace and authenticity. Both choices can be healthy. The real key is balance. Ask yourself, am I posting because I want to share or because I want approval? Does social media energize me or drain me? Do I owe my digital presence or does it own me? If your relationship with social media feels intentional, balanced, and true to who you are, you're doing it right. Final thoughts. So next time you notice someone who never posts photos, don't assume they're boring, antisocial, or hiding. They might just be deeply aware, emotionally grounded, and confident in their own skin. They don't need to be seen to feel seen. They don't need likes to feel liked. They're simply choosing a quieter form of confidence, one that doesn't depend on pixels, filters, or hashtags. In a world that constantly shouts, sometimes the strongest statement is silence. And perhaps that's the real psychology of people who don't post their pictures on social media. If you enjoy exploring how human behavior works, why people think, act, and feel the way they do, stay tuned. This channel is all about decoding the hidden patterns of the human mind